Ayo, Cardinal fans! Welcome to the newest Cardinal Conversation podcast, bringing you all the ins and outs of Otterbein athletics. Now, here is your host for today, Sports Information Director Adam Prescott.
Hello, and welcome back to our Cardinal Conversation podcast. I am Sports Information Director Adam Prescott, getting you back in the mix after, let's say, a month-long absence from our fall to winter season. Took some time off here for the holidays. Back at you with the first session of our winter season here with a few members of our Otterbein wrestling program. First is second-year head coach Brent Rastetter, hired in October of 2015 to help resurrect our Otterbein wrestling program. After a decorated run at Lexington High School, Otterbein, of course, forced to cut the sport of wrestling in 1974. Went through a 40-year absence until we brought Brent around to bring us back up to speed. Coach, biggest difference for you, inaugural season last year, year two this time around, biggest difference for you so far from 365 days ago?
Well, I think just the newness of last year and the excitement that surrounded all that just made things feel a little bit different. Now it feels like we're more kind of into a natural groove and just kind of doing what we need to do to move the program forward, and just feels more settled in at this point.
Mm-hmm. You compiled 208 and 34 dual record at Lexington, obviously a very decorated run there. 8 conference titles, 8 sectional titles. When you were hired, you said that this will certainly be a challenge, but I want to evolve as a coach. Where do you think you've learned the most so far? Maybe where have you been pushed the most in making this transition from high school to college?
Well, I've been pushed in a lot of different aspects, to be honest with you. It's different in so many ways. I think the recruiting, number one, was one of the biggest challenges, figuring out exactly what type of kid we needed to go after to get the results that we're ultimately looking for. We're just looking at bodies that first year to try to get numbers in, and that probably wasn't the best decision with a few of the kids that we brought in that didn't last with us. I think this past year I was a little more focused on what kind of kid we wanted to bring in, and I'm really pleased with the class we brought in this year. The work that they're putting in, and just the character that the kids have. So that was a huge learning curve for me. The other thing that I didn't really anticipate was the fatherly role at the level that I have to kind of have here. I wasn't anticipating it being as high as what it was at the high school level, but at the high school level they're going home to mom and dad. Here they're not. They're on their own for the first time. So that I carry a little bit more of that role than what I anticipated also.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, wrestling's wrestling and coaching's coaching. So I'm just enjoying the whole process. For sure.
One of those guys that you brought in the second class here is sophomore Santino DiSabato, sitting to your right. Sophomore from Westerville North, competing at 133 pounds. Santino, before we get to, I think Vegas has the over-under at Utah. This thing will usually last about 25 minutes, this podcast. I think Vegas has the over-under set at 23 minutes that you're going to talk. I'm not sure if Coach is going to get another word in. Do you feel that's accurate?
I'm done talking for the day.
Think that's accurate or what?
I don't know. We'll see. Look,
now he's all shy and nervous. Now he's all shy. Couldn't stop talking before we got on the air. Santino, you transferred from Notre Dame College in the offseason. You two-time state qualifier in high school. Just kind of walk me through your last couple of years, obviously finishing at the high school level, beginning your college career one place, and now you're kind of back home trying to find a new leaf, or a new leaf, I guess.
Well, in high school, I graduated in 2014, decided to go to Notre Dame College up in Cleveland. They had a powerhouse program up there, and I wasn't really looking at all the other aspects other than the athletic aspect, which turned out to be a lot more important than I anticipated. And then I went up there, didn't do so hot, and decided to come back home, worked for a while, and then I decided I wanted to get back into the sport. Coach had been approaching me, and I just didn't know if I'd have the academic standing, I guess, to be able to get in here. But he pushed me and told me that I could do it, and I went to Columbus State, took some classes, ended up my last semester there with a 3.5 GPA, and then
that's awesome.
Got in here.
Yeah. What's it been like so far? Obviously, it's only a second-year program, but there's still a lot of guys that are coming back this year trying to maybe fit in as a new wrestler. You're 11-4 overall. You're 2-0 in conference action. Obviously, things have gone pretty well for you so far.
Well, it's awesome. We have a great atmosphere, and the young guys we brought in, I feel like for the most part, are definitely the right ones. I love their work ethic. Our team is constantly working to improve, and that's what we need. we're only a second-year program, but we have high expectations for ourselves. So I think that we've been working really well to try and accomplish those. We've had some hiccups, but I think every program has, so
yeah,
we're doing pretty well.
For sure. I think before we go any farther, Coach, especially I'm going to have you jump in here, I think we need to go over maybe the rules and the scoring of wrestling a little bit because it's still a little new. I think that last year, we had so many people coming out and our staff members had no idea what was going on and trying to figure out how you score. Obviously, 10 weight classes, 3 rounds, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. You can win by a handful of ways. If you win by decision, that's by 1 to 7 points. If you win by major decision, that's if you win by 8 to 14 points. Technical fall is 15 points. The match is stopped, kind of a mercy rule. Pin or forfeit, or I guess a medical forfeit as well as 6 points. You want to talk about maybe, ways to score within the match and maybe most important things that people need to know that are trying to maybe come support you guys and still unaware of a lot of things of sport, details.
Yeah, I mean, you just did a good overall coverage of the team-based points. Individual match points, it's pretty simple. Takedown, where you're starting on your feet and you take the person down to the mat, get control of them, that's worth 2 points. If the person that gets taken down is able to get up and get away, that's an escape, that's worth 1 point. If the person that's on the bottom is able to reverse, get on top of you and gain control, that's a reversal, that's worth 2 points. If you're on top and you expose the other person into near fall criteria, which means their shoulder blades are within a 45 angle to the mat, the referee is going to start a count. If he gets a 2 or 3 count, it's going to be worth 2 points. If he gets to a 4 count, it's going to be worth 4 points, which is a huge point swing in a match.
There's riding time. People kind of get confused with the riding time.
Riding time basically is once you get on top of your opponent, the riding clock starts. It starts to count up. Anytime the person's on top, that clock's going to start rolling to their favor. So if the person's on top and he's giving up riding time, the clock will tick back down until it hits 0, then it goes back up again. But if you accumulate a minute or more of riding time during the course of a match, you get 1 point added on at the end, which can really sway, a match. So we really focus a lot on our ability to ride and to grind out and work on getting that point. But
and it doesn't matter if you have a minute and 2 seconds of riding time or 4 minutes of riding time. Right. It's still just 1 point, I think.
Yeah, we had one person get 6 minutes and 52 seconds of riding time this year, which is just unheard of. So that is just an absolute dominant match. So but it's still only worth that 1 additional point. So it's pretty straightforward.
Obviously, then that goes to the team scoring. A decision is 3 points for the team, and a major is 4, and a tech fall is 5, and a pin or a forfeit is 6, and then that's how you score the team standings, right?
Yep.
Talk about. I think some people get confused with the coin flip, and then you have the option to go up or down or neutral between rounds.
Right. At the beginning of the match for a dual meet, and it's a little different in a tournament. For a dual meet, the captains go out, and of course there's 10 matches, and there's either an odd match or an even match, and it's just based on what the number of the match is. If it's the first match, it's the odd match. They flip the coin. And whichever team is, color comes up, they get the choice. Usually green is home, but in some cases the referee will flip it because of the color of the
jersey color. Yeah.
But whoever gets the coin toss, they get a choice of either odd or even. So they get their choice in the second period of each of the matches for that particular match. So there's some, if you have a certain wrestler,
some strategy, definitely strategy.
Strategy goes in that if you want, your 149 pounder to have choice in the second period because that's a big match and that's going to be important, then you want to choose even so that he'd have that opportunity to have that choice in the second period. So that's where that coin toss comes into play. But then in the tournament setting, at the end of that first period, at the end of that first 3 minutes, the referee's going to flip the coin. One wrestler's red, one's green. Whichever comes up, that wrestler will have choice. Then in the second period, he can either choose up, down, he can choose neutral, which they're both on their feet, or he can defer his choice to the third period and give the other guy his choice in the second period. And that's what the coin toss basically equivalates to.
Yeah. Santino, talk about the nature of wrestling in this sport. It's very unique. I was talking to someone the other day. I said it's a very rare feeling probably to be out there on the mat. You're by yourself. No one's going to help you. You got people look. If you're on top of a guy, if a guy's on top, get up, but yourself. Just talk about, I guess, the internal strength or the kind of mental fortitude you have to do this sport.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely requires a good bit of mental toughness and rigor, definitely, and preparation. I mean, that's what we do in practice constantly. We get in those uncomfortable situations and positions where in a match it feels natural to you. You gain that ability to be calm while you're out there. And honestly, it's just, we love it so much because it's just a rush like no other. I mean, it's just you and him, man to man, and you're going at it. I love it.
As a coach, talk about the mix of guys on this team. You have some true freshmen, you have some true sophomores, you have some guys that are maybe older in years than their actual eligibility. You have Jake Vaughn, who I think is like 47 years old, team captain.
He's already a grandfather, I think.
You got guys that you've coached in high school. You have, a guy like Joey Tromba who hasn't wrestled in 2 years until now recently. I mean, you have a lot of different guys with a lot of different journeys on this team. What's it like trying to mesh this group together?
It's eclectic. Let's just put it that way. It's definitely an eclectic group. No, you know what? That part of the fun is the fact that they all have different personalities and they have different backgrounds and they all bring something special and unique to the table. And but at the end of the day, they've really bonded. They've come together as a pretty tight group, and that to me is important because that helps our overall progress as a program. Because they're all in it together. So, but like you said, we've got a few guys that have a little bit of worldly experience to them, like Jake, who was, out of wrestling for 5 years, working out in the real world and decided to come back to get a degree, and he's on track to, graduate, possibly with academic All-American honors.
Great story.
Great. Santino, who had a hiccup there and, got himself, back on the right path, and he's back. He's got a little bit of worldly experience to bring back to these guys. And then the rest of them are pretty much just, freshmen and sophomores trying to figure out their way as they go. I've got a couple of boys that, were real successful for me at the high school level that followed me here. It's kind of nice to have them, with me again. So it's just a really diverse and unique group, and they're a fun group to be around.
Yeah. Speaking of groups, Santino, I think you had 100 family members in your grouping at our home duel against Mount Union. They were all behind you. I think they were all. I don't even think you could hear Coach giving you pointers during the match because you had 100 family members telling you 100 different things during the match, I believe. DiSabato is obviously a very well-known, notable name in the wrestling world in Ohio. I guess just talk about coming from your family. Did you have to fight for attention growing up? What's it like? Obviously, it's probably fun having their support.
Yeah, it's definitely like an interesting dynamic of a family. Big Italian family, have real core values when it comes to our family's principles and what we stand for and everything. So I love coming from a family that knows what they're doing when it comes to the sport because I love the sport and I grew up around it, and it's just something we're really passionate about. And I love being in my hometown and being close to all my family because all my family's from Columbus, and it's really great, honestly.
You're home, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're home. That's your first half segment with head wrestling coach Brent Rastetter and 133-pounder Santino DiSabato. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with you in a few moments.
As the official sports medicine provider of Otterbein Athletics, Ohio Health is proud to keep the Cardinals healthy and in the game. Ohio Health is available 24/7 to care for your athletes. Just call 614-566-GAME to schedule a same-day appointment. Ohio Health, believe in we. From the Sports Information Desk, this is your Cardinal Sports Update. Since you last tuned in, the fall sports season ended with 3 teams competing on the national stage, beginning with the Otterbein volleyball team hosting the NCAA tournament inside the Reich Center. Cardinals won their first match 3-0 against Cabrini in the opening round before falling by the same margin to OAC foe Ohio Northern in round 2. The team finished 30-4 overall and placed senior Morgan Lowenkamp and juniors Andrea Miller and Hadley Starrett on the All-American squad. Men's soccer also earned a host site for the NCAA first and second round, advanced all the way to the Sweet 16 following wins over Medaille and Kenyon, before falling 3-0 to 4th-ranked St. Thomas in Chicago. Senior Jade Lunger was voted All-American just last week, the first for the program since Angela Manzo in 2003. And the Otterbein women's cross-country team rounded out the national competitors for the Cards this fall as the team earned its second ever bid in program history to the NCAA national meet, this coming after a 4th place finish at the NCAA Great Lakes Regional, securing them the at-large bid to the national stage. Junior The Lamb finished the race with All-American honor to round out the Cardinal season. Basketball and wrestling is now well underway, with the women's hoops team now 4-3 overall, following a 95-85 win over Heidelberg last Saturday. The men's team, in search of its first win of the year, has battled multiple opponents in the early going, most recently in a 99-85 loss at Heidelberg. Both teams face rival Capital this weekend, the men at home at 2 p.m., while the women travel to Bexley for a 3 p.m. tip. Wrestling enjoying a 4-2 overall record so far, most recently with a 30-21 defeat of Muskingum on the road, as 5 Cardinal wrestlers are already in double digits in the win column. Sophomore Willie Plaisir leads the way with a 14-3 mark, while Drew Casper and Jackson Laxo follow with 13 wins apiece. The team travels to the Kent State Tuscarawas Tri-Match this weekend. Track and field also opened its indoor season last Saturday, competed in multiple events to start the season off strong. That's your Cardinal Sports Update. For all the latest news and notes, follow us on OtterBeinCardinals.com and on social media at Otterbein Sports.
Hey Cardinals fans, I'm men's golfer Austin Wells. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Cardinal Conversation podcast. Our second half segment is coming right up.
Back up here in the Memorial Stadium press box alongside Brent Rastetter, head coach of our Otterbein wrestling program, and his 133-pounder Santino DiSabato. Santino, what's the craziest thing that ever happened to you during a match? Something you can share.
Are you talking about like this year, or
just weirdest, craziest, most memorable, I guess, story from being on the wrestling mat?
Well, in high school, we were wrestling down in Cincinnati at Moeller, and it was the first time like I'd really cut weight, because I was always soaking wet, like 100 pounds, wrestling 106. And then the next year I actually had to cut weight to 106, and I was out there wrestling against the Moeller kid, and I was just so nervous, like, before that match. And, like, I felt like I was going to get sick or whatever, but, like, I didn't before the match, and I walk out there to shake his hand, and I, like, call injury time, and I'm like, 1 second, I run out, and I just start throwing up in the trash can because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
And then I went back out and wrestled, and I did pretty well, but, yeah.
That's great. Coach, talk about, I guess, the aspect of cutting weight. It's in this sport, it's obviously maybe the most grueling dimension of this. I'm sure you got a lot of crazy stories from guys trying to cut weight. Certain guys handle it and approach it different than others. I guess just that dimension and how you've seen kids handle that.
Yeah, you know, I'm not a big weight cutting coach. I don't like it much. We only have one knucklehead on our team right now, DiSabato, next to me, cutting some weight. That was his choice. I let him do that because he's a little bit older and has a little bit better grasp on it. It's too much of a negative part of the sport, and it's, I don't know where along the line we decided that in order to be a successful wrestler we had to cut weight and starve ourselves. I did it too, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I have had guys that have cut weight and they've wrestled really well, and I've had guys that have cut weight and they've not wrestled well. So I think it's more of the latter, where it's been a detriment to them. So I'm not big on it, but it's part of the plus they're grumpy all the time when they're cutting weight, and then that makes me grumpy, and it's just not fun then. So.
Yeah, my little brother Jackson Laxo. Yeah, he's just awful to be around.
His lip sticks out. He's pouting all the time, and he's grumpy. And then it just takes all the fun out of it. He's only cutting like 3 pounds.
Yeah,
so he's a big baby.
Yeah,
but that's beside the point.
Yeah. I want to play a game with you guys here in our second half of the segment. I'm going to read you some names, and you're going to have to differentiate whether they're a professional wrestler or a Division III college wrestler. So like WWE. I don't know how big. If you've been brushing up on your WWE in recent years, or
man, I would have Googled it before I came.
How big? Yeah, that's why I didn't tell you. So I got some names here. I've sorted through some Division III rosters, things like that. Tried to make this as difficult as I can on you. So I'm going to read you 2 names. So we're going to go in groups. I got about 12 or 13, I guess, challenges we'll call them. I'm going to read you 2 names. One of them's a Division III college wrestler. The other one's a professional,
Man, he prepared for this.
Entertainment wrestler, and I need you guys to differentiate here. So, Kenny Omega and Mauricio Gonzalez. Which one? I'll let you guys you guys can just work on this together.
WWE.
All right, then we'll go with Kenny Omega as the D3 wrestler.
That is incorrect, actually.
Good job.
Mauricio Gonzalez, John Carroll University wrestler from 2013.
Wow.
So,
Santino.
I thought it was like a trick question.
WWE, I don't want to call it star, but WWE wrestler. AJ Styles and Cody Lovejoy.
Cody Lovejoy is the D3 wrestler.
That's too easy on you. I tried to pick guys that weren't too recent because I figured you might.
Lovejoy.
You know where Cody Lovejoy's from?
I have no idea, but I know the D3.
Ohio Northern.
Ohio
AJ
Northern.
Styles, pretty popular wrestler. Let's see, Matt Lawler and Jerry Lawler.
Matt Lawler is the D3 wrestler.
Man, too easy, too easy.
He's
Jerry,
the UFC guy.
Did you know him, or did you just know that Jerry the King Lawler is in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Wow.
Yeah. Didn't know that one, did you?
Jerry the King.
Wow.
How about Kit Krieger and Jimmy Snuka?
Oh, that Kit Krieger's the D3 wrestler. Jimmy Snuka's from my time period back in the day.
Do you remember his nickname?
Went off the top. Superfly.
Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Yeah. You know, he's also been indicted for murder, so.
Oh, really?
You know, you picked a great one there.
Great.
Nice.
Thanks for bringing down the moment there. All right, let's make Santino pick this one. Rick Rude or Vince Tundo?
Oh, man.
I know this one.
Rick Rude or Vince Tundo?
I want to say Tundo's a D3 wrestler.
Very good.
Ravishing Rick Rude.
Ravishing Rick Rude.
All right.
Old school wrestler. That one I couldn't let you answer that one. Vince Tundo, 1976 most outstanding wrestler at the NCAA championships for Montclair State.
You're pulling out the archives.
Team runner-up that year, John Carroll. In 1976.
1975, they were NCAA champs. John Carroll was.
Yep, you're right. Cody Quick or Bam Bigelow?
Cody Quick is the D3.
Yeah, that was too easy. Bam Bigelow.
That's a pretty cool name.
Not bad, right?
I'm going to call Santino that. Bam DiSabato.
All right, here's a good one for you. How about Jeff Hardy or Matt Hardy?
Wait, I think
Matt Hardy's the D3 wrestler.
Yeah, Matt Hardy, I think, is D3.
Matt Hardy, do you know where he's from?
No, I have no idea.
That's because he's not a D3 wrestler.
Oh.
Both the Hardy brothers, tag team.
You know what? No.
Trick question. Jeff and Matt Hardy, former WWE tag team champions.
Oh, my. That one doesn't count.
Trick question.
You can't trick wrestlers like that. We're not smart enough.
All right, here's a chance for Cody Silvestri or Brian Pillman?
Yeah, Cody Silvestri is a D3 wrestler.
You knew that. I heard you whispering in his ear.
I didn't do that.
Flying Brian Pillman from the WWE.
He played for
Flying Brian Pillman.
He played for the Cincinnati Bengals. Google it.
Did he really?
Yep.
Interesting. Cody Silvestri from Wartburg College in Iowa, most outstanding wrestler at the 2012 Division III.
Yeah, Wartburg's good.
Championship.
He was probably pretty good.
How about Scott Steiner or DJ Recknagel? No, you know this one. We're gonna
Steiner wrestled D3.
Scott Steiner and DJ Recknagel. Scott Steiner's your guess. That is incorrect.
Scott Steiner wrestled D1 at the University of Michigan and was also a camp counselor at a wrestling camp that I went to as I was going into my freshman year of high school at University of Michigan.
Wow.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
He and his brother both wrestled at
Little
University
intimidating.
of
DJ
Michigan.
Recknagel, former Ohio Northern polar bear. Thought that might confuse you a little bit there. How about Brian Goodnight or Mike Mennypenny?
Santino, that one's yours. I have no idea.
Brian Goodnight or Mike Mennypenny?
Brian Goodnight. That's a pretty good showbiz name.
Yeah, what kind of showbiz though?
Yeah, I don't know. Knocking people out or something.
Brian Goodnight and Mike Mennypenny.
Oh man, Goodnight WWE.
That would have been my guess too if it weren't my second trick question. Those are both Mount Union wrestlers from 4 years ago.
What?
You know what?
What?
We're gonna have a throwdown here.
You know what, you guys? I put a couple of trick ones at the bottom in case you guys started getting on a roll, and I had to kind of level you out a little bit.
I'm gonna level you out.
How about Roman Reigns or Rami Rattel?
Now you're really stumping me.
Roman Reigns or Rami Rattel?
Rami Rattel, probably D3.
They're not. Neither one of them are wrestlers. They're both.
Now we go mad.
They're both I don't know.
Now he's all mad. Nope, one of them's a WWE wrestler.
I don't believe it.
What, was Rattel D3?
Yep, Rattel was D3.
Got it.
Roman Reigns was, I guess he's one of the biggest superstars in WWE present day. I don't watch it, but
never.
Ramey Rattel, also from Montclair State, led his team to the national title in 2003. Ohio Northern was the host that year.
Nice.
Ohio Northern hosted the national championships 15 years ago in Ada, Ohio. So not a bad game. You guys did pretty well. Had to take a few other names off my I was going to go with Dustin Rhodes and Damian Dowgett. Dowgett used to wrestle for John Carroll as well, but I figured you probably know Dusty.
Yeah.
Dustin Rhodes was Goldust, and then Dusty Rhodes was his dad. So
nice.
I'm up here in the Memorial Stadium press box with Brent Rastetter and Santino DiSabato. Just a reminder that today's podcast is brought to you by a few of our corporate sponsors: Roush Honda, Ohio Health, MSA Sport, VMI Credit Union, and Jets Pizza. Coach, just a few questions kind of looking ahead. You got a month-long break coming up, which I know is critical for a lot of teams at this point in the season when you're kind of banged up, but you do have a couple outings before that. What you're looking to see this weekend, and then one more deal with North Central kind of before heading into the break.
Yeah, all we've talked about is just progress. Each time out we have to be a little bit better than what we were, the previous time. We're not focused on the winning and the losing aspect of it. I think that people get too wrapped up in that, and progress actually starts to stall. We just want to focus on getting better, each outing, and I think the boys have kind of bought into that, and I think that we definitely are making progress. We are extremely beat up right now. We do have some guys that have had some season-ending injuries, which will hurt long term, but what it's going to do is it's going to give some of these younger guys an opportunity to step up and get some critical mat time and develop our depth for the future. And in the long run, it's just going to make us better.
Yeah, like Denver ate a lot, right? One of my favorite names.
Denver ate a lot.
Denver ate a lot for a wrestler.
Got a big pin the other night.
Yeah, big pin in the Mosquito, 157. Santino, talk about the. I guess we say it's nice to have a month-long break, but there's also you got to be careful. There's certain challenges around the holidays. You can, eat whatever, and next thing you know, you're cutting more weight than you wanted to or whatnot. Just talk about the balance of maybe regrouping and having some fun, but also not letting yourself go too much.
Just getting my workouts in. I mean, Coach puts a lot of trust in us to be able to do the right things on our own, and I think that we display a good job of doing that on our team. So I don't think it's going to be much different. It's just doing what you got to do when nobody's looking,
Yeah.
So.
Last thing before I let you go, talk about the camaraderie of this group. I've gotten to start to get to know you guys as the weeks have gone on here in the second season. You seem to be a pretty fun group. Talk about behind the scenes, the makeup of the group, and the culture that you guys are really trying to build for future years.
Really, just it's like a brotherhood.
Yeah.
I know it sounds cliche, and a lot of other teams say that, but I mean it can't be any more true. We're really tight, and it's because we go through the worst and best things together, and that's all it boils down to. So, I mean, we're just going to continue to get closer as the season goes on, and, it's just going to better us.
Yeah, so. Sure. Coach, any last thoughts before we let you go?
You're fantastic, Adam.
We knew that, but I think I'm going to come join practice one of these days, and I got an idea for a Cardi Awards video to kind of take on some of the best athletes in their sports.
We've got a singlet waiting for you, and Santino said he'd go.
Really?
Yeah.
That's better. My initial thought was taking on Willie, so that's. Yeah, so I might. I'm not. Let's be honest. The Vegas does not have me as a favorite in anything here, but maybe I'll win by medical forfeit or something.
We'll have some fun.
All right. Well, Brent Rastetter and Santino DiSabato, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Best of luck as the season progresses here, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Just a reminder that you can catch all podcast shows on Twitter @Otterbein Sports or Otterbein Athletics YouTube channel. Catch you next time.